Well, I went ahead and pulled my cars out of the storage. I say storage, I mean one of my garages with battery tenders on them for the winter. Pulled them out, drug them out here. Actually drove them out here, which is really cool. They all started right up. They all drove out real nice. So happy with that. So I take the Buick out for a cruise, but the convertible top doesn't want to go down. So I got a line leaking somewhere in that car. Check the trunk, there's nothing running down the trunk. So it's gotta be underneath the back seat, probably those cylinders. So I gotta pull that interior out, the back seat, side panels, find out what's going on there. So that's kind of a disappointment, but guess it's to be expected. Guess you can't say my shop's empty now, right? It's got all my vehicles sitting in here. My other garages are pretty empty now, so I can get those swept up, cleaned up from all winter just sitting with cobwebs and everything. Found out I had a roof leaking in the garage where this was. The hood's got spots all over it. Went right through the car cover. So I'm about to get that cleaned up here real fast. Get those spots off there. But yep, feeling pretty blessed and lucky to own all this. Hey, how you guys doing today? Yeah, I showed you all my cars sitting in the shop here and doing maintenance, oil changes, and getting them ready. I don't know if you can see back there in the back there, that Buick convertible actually has a cylinder leaking. I've got to go ahead and get that torn apart and try to find out where that cylinder is leaking at. I couldn't find anything in the trunk, but it appears it's underneath the back seat. So I'm gonna need to blow it apart and get in there. But the Firebird over here, I still need to adjust that carburetor out, and the transmission's making a noise. I really think it's the pilot bearing, not the throw-out bearing. It's making a hell of a noise, and I know that pilot bearing wasn't a one-piece, it's a two-piece bearing. You know, one side spins inside the other, so I'm thinking that's making all my noise. So for like the fourth or fifth time, I'm gonna have to drop that tranny and pull that out of there, which I'm getting really good at that, you know. Fantastic for me, you know, I'm really learning something. In the past here, I keep saying I can't find a project car. I can't find a project car. They're out there. I just don't want to spend the money for them, you know, $4,000 or $5,000, and put all the work in them. I had that '68 Mustang, which you can't see it, but it's way up there on top of the lift above that Trans Am, and it's so rusty. It's going to be a huge project. And in the back of my mind, I'm going, if I redo that Mustang, I've got to replace all that metal, which I'm not looking at a lot. Mustang sheet metal's cheap, replacement parts are cheap, but time consuming, which I got plenty of time. And but if I was going to keep it, it's got a 6-cylinder in it, 3-speed manual, little 7-inch rear end, you know. In keeping that, I would have to change that 6-cylinder out for a V8. I would like to go to an automatic. You know, my Trans Am's a 4-speed. That's good enough for me. Mustang can be an automatic. It wouldn't bother me. And I had to change out that rear end to an 8 or 9-inch. You know, it's not going to handle a V8 power. And I had heard that if you put a 289 in there, it will bolt to a 3-speed. But like I say, I don't want to keep the 3-speed. So I thought, well, maybe I can go a bigger motor or something. But I was looking at cost-wise, and with me with all my labor, doing it for free and my time, and not having to pay anybody to do anything, I figured that car would come in around 10 grand, leaving that 6-cylinder in there. You know, I could get that done, painted and everything for around 10 grand. And I thought, well, you know, I really don't want to do it, but yet I do. I haven't done Fords. why not try something that's cheap? You know, Mustang parts, like I say, are cheap. So I started looking on the internet. I'm looking at other cars and stuff. And I've looked at the Firebirds, the old 67, 69s. There's some out there pretty reasonable, but you got to drive 8 to 12 hours to get to them from where I am. And I looked at the Grand Prix. I really like the older Grand Prix, you know, 69, 70, 72s. I really like the looks of those. But finding the parts to fix them, and not people do those larger cars. I would say mid-size. That was kind of like, I'm not going to do a Grand Prix. And I really wanted to do a Pontiac. So I thought, hey, why not a GTO? Or a Le Mans, or a Tempest, or a Custom S. And those are a little expensive too, as far as my budget goes. You know, I just want to be able to build something, work on a little at a time, and throw some videos up here on YouTube for you guys to enjoy and watch without busting the bank. So if you notice right here beside me, right there, that's my card hauler. I've had this thing for, oh, wow, 20, 25 years. I bought this from a guy I'd worked with, and it wasn't even 2 years after I bought it, he was trying to buy it back. He had bought a newer one and hated it to death, and I wouldn't sell it. I hung on to this. Well, this is my good old car trailer. I like this. I use this for, I bring mulch with this. I bring landscaping materials in with this. You know, I really load a lot of stuff on here. I load tractors on this thing, and I'm going to keep it, still am. But the reason for it being in here, I'm charging the battery up on it because I did find a project car. And my wife and I are going to go pick it up Saturday. Today's Wednesday. I talked to the guy, and we made an arrangement. We made an agreement. And I think he wanted to move it a little quicker because it's sitting in a storage facility. It's actually in a unit. And he says he's paying $75 a month to keep it in there. So it's cost him $75 every month to sit in there. And it's been in there for 4 years. Can you imagine that? But he just wants to get it out of there. And we're going to go pick it up. Right now, I'm not going to tell you what it is. Some of you will be surprised. Some of you won't. You know, I had a really, really hard time trying to decide what to do here. You know, and I put the 68 Mustang on Marketplace for sale. Very, very rusty, runs, 6-cylinder. Needs brakes and everything. It's not the worst car I've ever seen, but it's pretty damn close. And I've had people come and look at it, and they're all excited when they see it until I put it up in the air. And they look underneath it and they go, oh my God, you weren't lying? This thing's gone, totally toasted. And nobody wants the old girl, which is sad. I hate to say that, but I hate to see old cars go to the wayside. But it doesn't seem like I can sell it. Nobody seems to want to buy it, which I can kind of understand. It's a huge project. You got to put a V8 in that thing. I don't care what anyone says. There's got to be a V8. But yeah, when my wife and I get back with that car here in 3 days, since today's Wednesday and I'm picking up Saturday. I don't want to get it till Saturday afternoon. It's about a 2.5 hour drive. And like I say, my wife loves going on these trips because it's an adventure for her. And we're going to go from up by Fort Wayne, Indiana, down to Indianapolis, which isn't too bad. So we're going to go down there and pick up my next project car. And like I say, some of you are going to go, what the hell? Others are going to go, yeah, I figured he'd do something like that. So, hey, stay tuned. Yeah, the only reason why I haven't got to that convertible yet, or the Trans Am, is it's been pretty decent out. And I've been getting caught up on some of my home projects on the outside. For instance, we're replacing a picket fence, which the old one was 20 plus years old. And man, it really needed replaced. So I'm about 90%, 95% done with that picket fence. And I have landscaping blocks sitting out there that are starting to lean a little bit, you know, getting kicked out from the dirt and the stuff, the retaining wall. So I'm gonna have to go in and straighten those up and level them out and do all that, which is gonna be really time consuming. But you know, it's those projects, you know, if you want a happy life, you got to have a happy wife. So I'm going to take care of that stuff. That'll all happen before I actually start tearing another car apart, which is the way it is. And I can work really slow on the car. There's no hurry. I've got plenty to keep me busy just here and there tinkering. But yeah, I got a lot of plans out there this summer to fix around the house. Like I said, I got the picket fence. I got one gate. The 4x4 is really leaning out there, and I need to reconcrete that, get that in there, because that gate really is a pain in my ass, open and close. One of my garages up by the vent in the roof is actually dripping water. I don't have anything underneath it. I moved the car out of there. So as soon as I can, I'm going to get up on the roof, attach that around that vent, get that to stop leaking. You know, I'm sure my wife has a really long list for me to do. But like I say, Saturday, it's all about me. So, and here's my trailer. Like I say, it's nothing fancy, but it gets the job done. You know, nice little winch on the front. Pull those cars on, wood bed. A couple ramps that don't want to stay in the back, so I always throw them on the top. It's a nice little beater trailer that does a really fine job. Like I say, the Mustang's still up there. This one, that top cylinder's leaking. And it's not on the floors or anything, so it's got to be underneath that back seat. It's not in the trunk. So I'm pretty sure it's one of the cylinders behind that side panel right there. I don't know which one it is. Had those originals in here for years, no problems, and I had one develop a leak, and they wouldn't sell me one. I had to buy a set, and the set's made in China, the cheapest things you ever saw, and had problems with them from day one, had to return them, and they sent me another set, and those worked, but now I got one leaking, so that's the way it goes. Just keep on moving along like everyone else. And there's my new picket fence. You can see it. Like I say, I'm probably 90-95% done. Got that side done. I still have to do up there yet. But yeah, that fence needed replaced. You know, we're doing some in here. You can see us staining, but there's the old fence. You can see it was pretty well worn out. So time to replace it with the newer stuff. So that's what I've been doing. So thanks for watching my videos. Later.